In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this stylish flare shirt pattern. If this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. This shirt is from janan.ng. To cut this shirt, I'll be folding it in bias form. That is, I'll fold it like in form of a flare, but this shirt is not like a full flare shirt. But if you cut it in form of a straight shirt, you might not get that fullness you have at the front of the pattern. For the shoulder of this shirt, you're not going to use your actual shoulder. You might add extra half inch or 1 inch to it because it's an oversized shirt pattern. Now, the first thing you need to consider is your button allowance. Now, I'm going to be using a button allowance of 1.5 inches. So after that, add your shoulder measurement to it. Like, let's say I'm using 1.5 inches for my button allowance, then I'll add 7 inches for my shoulder measurement to give me 8.5. So because this is an oversized shirt pattern, you can add extra half inch or 1 inch to your shoulder measurement. So let's say I added half. What I have is 9 inches. Now after that 9 inches, you add an extra half inch to serve as a joining allowance for your shirt and your sleeve. Now whatever measurement you have, draw out a straight line there. So for this pattern, I'm not actually using my main measurement because I'm drafting this on a pattern paper. I can't really get the full measurement of my shirt on a pattern paper, although I went ahead to join my pattern paper to make it full. So from this point now, I'll start marking my shirt or button allowance. Now that excess at the front is not part of the shirt. If you notice, the pattern is not complete at that side, so I'll just go ahead to cut it out later. Sorry. Now after marking my button allowance to the end, I'm just going to go ahead to place a ruler and draw a straight line at that point all the way to the lower part of my pattern. If you don't want to use the open part of this pattern, you can use the closed part. I'm just using that part because it is open already and we are still going to cut open our button allowance. From the button allowance, mark your shoulder divided by 2. Now you can add extra half inch or 1 for your oversized shirt pattern. So after adding that half inch, add another half inch which will serve as a joining allowance. Then come down by 1 inch at this point and then go ahead to connect. This will be serving as your shoulder slope. So remember, like I said, if you look at this dress at the shoulder, it is not exactly on the shoulder point. It's more like an oversized shirt. Now, I'm not using my actual measurement for this dress because pattern paper might not fit. Now, the next step is to mark your chest line. And to get your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, which gave me this mark. Let's say the measurement I'm using now, this is where my chest line is. I'll draw a straight line. Now after marking this, I'll go ahead. That measurement I have on the shoulder, that is what I'll mark on the chest line of this pattern. Now I'll place my ruler and I'll draw a straight line. So the next step is to go ahead to divide your armhole into 2 equal parts, then come in by half inch. From this point, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Then connect to that half inch at the armhole and to the bust circumference divided by 4. For the neckline, I'll be using a basic neckline of 2.5 inches here, and I'll reconnect it back to my shoulder this way. For the depth of the neckline, I'll use 3 inches and I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the lower part of this pattern. Go ahead to extend it to the button allowance. Next step is to place my tape and I'll mark my shoulder to waistline, right? Go ahead to place my ruler and draw a straight line. The remaining part will serve as the total length of my shirt. That is from the shoulder to this point. So whatever I have, I'll mark it. So what I have is 20 inches. So I'll just mark it coming in. So while marking it, you notice that you have a sort of flare effect, but the flare is not full. If you cut this shirt like in form of a straight shirt, an oversized straight shirt, it might not really like give you that effect that you want. So I'll just go up a bit at this point. Now from the armhole, I'll add extra 3 inches. That is, I have marked my bust circumference divided by 4 already. Then I'll add extra 3 inches to it. Then go ahead to connect this as if I want to cut out a flare, but the flare effect will not be much, because if you look at that shirt, it doesn't look like it's actually very straight. It shouldn't be too slanty, but at least something that will not be so straight at the side of the shirt. Now you notice that curve we have connected like towards from the lower part all the way to the waistline of the shirt. So you can maintain your waistline, that is coming down from the waistline, or you can go down from the waistline by 1 inch, half inch, and reconnect, right? So I'll just blend this out, and I'll go ahead to cut this out first before we now transfer our measurements to another pattern paper for the back. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out. If you have any question, please kindly go ahead to ask. After cutting this out now, I'll use it and cut out my back. To cut out the back, I'll fold this in form of a flare, and I will fold button allowance. Then go ahead to trace the shoulder, the sides, all the way down. After tracing this, I'm just going to go ahead to add an extra length to the center back of this shirt. If you notice, the center back of the shirt we have on the thumbnail is longer. For the neckline of the back, I'm using 2.5 by 1 inch, 2.5 for the width and 1 inch for the depth. Now place your tape and go ahead to take how long you want the back shirt to be. You know the back shirt is longer than that of the front, right? Now I'll just go ahead to connect this all the way up. So I'm supposed to connect it to the actual length of the front pattern, but I'll just go down a bit. I'll still readjust it later. So I purposely did this because I'll still go ahead to do some alteration on the main pattern. So after cutting this out now, I'm going to go ahead to cut out, to like alter the front pattern and also the back to get the design we have on the shirt. Now this is what I have, and I'll open it up. If you feel the flare effect on the shirt is much, you can just go ahead to take it all the way down, like straighten it a bit down, right? Now what I'll do is I'll make sure that the front and the back is matching. Now from the front, I'll go ahead to like create this line. You know, in front of the shirt has like this curve, so I'll try to curve it out again. Now from where that curve ends, I'll go ahead to start extending it to the back pattern of this dress. This is that line that we have at the back, that the upper part of the shirt was rejoined to the lower part of this shirt, and I'll go ahead to connect this. After I'm done connecting, this is what I have. I'll still go ahead to cut it out. Now let's move over to the lower part. I'll just go ahead and pick a point. So I don't really have any actual measurement I used for this lower part. Pick a point and make sure it meets at this end. Then go ahead to slant it down all the way to the back length of your shirt. After I'm done connecting, I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. So why I connected this is the front will be meeting the back to create that design whereby the back part of the shirt will now extend to the front. So now you're going to rejoin this back to the upper part, so notch where the center and where you have like this blockish effect on the back part of the shirt. Now you also do a slash and spread, but that will be later. So let me go ahead to explain the other part. So now I'll just cut this out and also go ahead to cut out the excess I have at this point. Now this is what my shirt will look like. So after cutting out, you can just go ahead and join your shirt this way, and then probably run the design from that white design from the front all the way to the back. Or you can decide to cut this out and then place it to the back pattern. You want to make a mark from where you joined or where you're going to start joining this back to your pattern. I'm just going to go ahead to open up this shirt now. Now you look at the side of this shirt. What I'll do is to go ahead to replace this on it this way, and also join the other side. So I'll be using my tape to hold it down. Also go ahead to join the other side to it too. So after joining this pattern, this is what the back will look like. Now you'll be joining it back to your shirt. Now for the back pattern of the shirt, this is what you'll be having, and you're going to join the front pattern to the back pattern of this shirt. Now at the back of the shirt, you notice that there's a little ruche. What I'll do now is to slash and open here. Now when you're cutting out the shirt back pattern here, you open it up this way and you cut out. Now after cutting out, you have an excess there. What you do is to run a gather stitch and gather it back, join it to the upper part of this dress. If you look closely at the back of the shirt, you notice that there's little gathers at that point. So I'll just use my tape to hold this down. Hold it down as if I'm joining it, right? So after this, you just go ahead, after joining the upper part to the lower part of the shirt, you now go ahead to join the front part to it. Then go ahead to attach that little strap round your shirt to create that design on your pattern. So I'll just use a tape to hold it down so that you have an idea on how the shirt will be looking like after you're done cutting. After joining it by the side, this is what you will have, right? Then go ahead to like run or create that design, running from the front pattern to that of the back of the dress. So this is what you'll be having now. Now the next step is to go ahead to cut out the collar of this dress. That is after you're done attaching all this your shirt together and attach the design on it. Now I'll measure the neckline of this shirt at the front part. That is after you're done sewing your button allowance. So for your button allowance, just like I said, use 2 inches or 1.5. Now after measuring it, for the back I have 3.5, and for the front neckline I have 5.5. Remember, I didn't use my actual measurement. So what I have is a total of 9 inches, and I will mark. So for this 9 inches that I have here, remember this pattern is on fold. So I'll just cut this, I'll mark this in a straight line. So after marking this, I'll just go ahead and find the midpoint of 9 inches and mark. From this point now, I'll come up by ½ inch. From that midpoint, I'll connect to the upper part, that is that ½ inch I went up. First, we'll cut out our collar stand, which I'll use 1 inch for it. After marking the 1 inch for the collar stand, I'll go ahead to connect. Now after I'm done connecting, we are going to cut out the actual collar. I'll come in by 1 inch, go up by 3 inches here and draw a straight line. Here I'll come up by 2 inches, then I'll go ahead to connect it up. If you're not okay with the 2 inches, you can go ahead to use 3 inches or 2.5, and I'll blend here a bit, go out by ½ inch and reconnect it to give you that collar effect. Here's the collar stand and here's the collar. Now you can cut this as one piece collar, that is just going ahead to just cut out the excess paper, then cut this on fold and add your ½ inch all the way around your pattern for your collar. Or you can cut it into 2 separate collar where you have the collar stand and the collar itself.